Isn't that a bit of a kind of forbidden fruit? Because when I was taught to teach, we didn't. It was like grammar translation or language. It was kind of one of those things from the past that we weren't supposed to do. We were supposed to teach all in English and immerse the students in the culture.
Yeah, there is that perception of it, and when I started getting interested in it, I should probably share your background in teaching more or less anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was trained English only in the classroom. So there is that perception that it should be English only. It's the default position, but only really in the world of a narrow world of ELT. And if you talk to most English teachers around the world, normal teachers in normal contexts, high schools, universities, wherever, then yes, of course they use their own language, the language they share with it, and they use it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
They use it maybe with a degree of guilt sometimes, because they're aware of people like you or me saying English only. But so yes, it's been taboo, but it's always been there. The elephant in the room that no one talks about.
Please, the exhibition
We'll just
Central Hall 2.
give them a break, then.
We'll give them a break, yeah.
The exhibition in Central Hall 2 will be closed in 20 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting because like the context that I work in with online teaching, in my school our students prefer to have a bilingual teacher or someone who teaches their own, who understands their own language, especially because they're learning online and they want tech support sometimes or just they just don't get it sometimes, and we have more students kind of asking for a bilingual teacher rather than a native speaker,
I think it's normal now. I mean, the attitudes are fairly clear because a lot of research has been done into attitudes. Not all learners, but the majority of learners would prefer a bilingual teacher. But the other thing that's interesting is about the technology, because one of the reasons why translation is coming back in a big way is because more and more people are learning languages with digital support. I don't know, Duolingo, for example, or whatever it might be. They're using digital flashcards, and all of these are bilingual tools. There are some excellent bilingual or bilingualized dictionaries out there. So it's sort of becoming normal again in that way.
Yeah. So could you give us an example of what an own language activity might look like, or how a teacher might exploit that?
Yeah, I could. The book that I wrote, though, is a bit different from some books, the sort of the recipe books, which typically have very specific classroom activity to practice a particular language point. And I was more interested in generic activities or techniques, really simple techniques, like, for example, before a speaking activity, giving the students time to brainstorm their activities in their own language, because they'll brainstorm more in their own language. Or during a speaking activity, I call these own language moments. During a speaking activity, when it kind of stops working and they're drying up, right, boom, back to your own language for 30 seconds, a minute, before we go back into English. So I'm interested in techniques like that, but also some bigger activities, and the biggest and the most well-known is reverse translation, where you take some kind of text in English, translate it into your own language, and then at a later date, possibly later in the lesson, but perhaps another lesson, try to translate that back into English. And this is a technique that's at least 500 years old, 550 years old.
So you're a plagiarist.
I've nicked this idea from that. There's a Spanish humanist, Juan Luis Vives, who used this technique when he was teaching Princess Mary, one of the daughters of Henry VIII. So we're talking 1555, 1553.
Yeah, so you're lucky he won't be prosecuting you for that one.
Not for that one, no.
Yeah.
It's a well-known technique. I mean, people have been using it for a long time. But it's a rich technique, and there's so many different things you can do with it.
Yeah.